You can't beat the original. I'm sure you guys have heard this saying before. What do you think about it? Me personally, a lot of times they just get it really right that first time, but I'm also somebody who's here for experimentation, whether that's from design, from art, to overall paneling, and even story. I like seeing somebody decide to do something different, even if it's a big swing and it turns out to be a miss. I like seeing creative choices instead of copying things from the past. But when it comes to design and a costume, these things are integral to a character. It's how you identify somebody. It's usually one of the first things that catch your eye when you're like, wait, I want to know more about this character. They either look cool or they have something unique about them, something that makes you gravitate towards it. And a lot of times they hit the nail on the head so hard, pause, that it feels like they don't have to try that much to revamp it. They just need some usual tiny tweaks here and there as modern times call for changes. But sometimes a redesign is so bad, it makes you scratch your head a little bit and go like, did a real graphic designer, a professional artist that gets paid by the big two, create this? Like, how could this possibly get through the final draft? Like, what are we doing here? Are we taking crazy pills? But you know, sometimes this does happen. And if it's your fave, you're going to be stuck with it. And these are going to be my picks on designs that I just don't understand. And there are so many characters out there, but these are characters that resonate a lot with me, so I have more strong opinions about it. Leave the ones that you hate the most in the comments down below. There's going to be a lot of discussion based on this. I know you guys have your controversial opinions and ones that, you know, a lot of people can gather around and just support. Somebody could be like, I hate this, and you can be like, yes, and start cheering them on. So without further ado, without my fantasy about how the comment section works, let's get straight to it. Psych! Before we get started, post-production Natrix here, back at it again. I haven't done this in a little while, but I want to remind you guys to subscribe. I'm pretty sure only 10 to 15% of you guys are subscribed. It helps the channel out a ton, and it's completely free, no charge to you. And if you enjoy the content, you are more likely to get it recommended towards you. Anyways, commercial break aside, let's get to it. With the announcement of Supergirl, this is no better time to speak about one of my favorite characters, Lobo. Now, look at this costume here. From a viewer's perspective, you know everything about the character right away, at least the bare basics, the bones that you need to know. The leather jacket, the chains, the spikes, the space bike. He looks like somebody who just crawled out of a heavy metal album cover and just plopped his way into a comic. But that excess is the point. He isn't subtle at all, and he's not meant to be polished. He's very loud and crude and violent, and visually, the cool part about it is that before he even utters a word out of his mouth, which is pretty hard to stop him from doing, you see exactly what he is before any of that. And on a meta level, that original design is a perfect parody of the 90s because they weren't going after making an edgy anti-hero, they were trying to mock that entire era. That's why Lobo just happens to have that grimdark, hyper-violent, extreme look. He was hopping onto that trend and pushing it so far that eventually it would collapse into like comedy, and it just seems so cool because it looks like somebody who's trying way too hard, but he has such aloofness to him that it's just very funny, and it works because Lobo and the writers themselves were very self-aware. He was the punchline, he was the parody. Now compare that to this guy here, New 52 Lobo, and everything falls apart because instead of exaggeration, we got some level of, I don't know how to say this, like seriousness. The biker aesthetic was gone. Now he had a very like sleek, militaristic, I don't know, like line heavy design that kind of looked like it came from like a sci-fi shooter. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but it was very emblematic, I think, of the New 52 era. This version of DC was chasing a very specific aesthetic. It was like very modern and streamlined and armored. Everything had to look kind of tactical, and it felt very joyless, you know? Like, the problem is that Lobo was taken seriously. Once you remove all of that, right? The parody, the excess, the everything, he stops being special. He stops being a satire character. He's just another edgy character. In the comics, they finally realized that that was the problem. In the Rebirth era, they realized that they failed, and they put him in a shrunken Brainiac bottle and shelved him. literally put onto Brainiac's shelf. That's how bad it was. Editorial literally gave up, and honestly, I am just so glad that Supergirl decked this man in the face and he fell down into the dirt and the snow and he deserves to stay there. I'm a hater. I am a hater, bro. And what really sucks about this is that it actually could have worked, right? If you decided to make it into a traditional parody. If you look at the new 52 Lobo and put the original Lobo's personality on it, you see something that could have been meant to mock that era's obsession of that sleek, of that joyless cool factor, but clearly it wasn't, and that would have been very clever, but this was now the new default. What was already perfect became needlessly over-designed, which is really funny because that was what he already was, but now it was pushed in the opposite direction, away towards fun. Here is rainbows, there is clouds, and they just messed up. It was the moment that DC forgot the fun, and the moment that happened, they didn't just redesign the character, they erased the entire reason why he existed in the first place. Without that factor, he might as well just be what he was originally ripped off of, Wolverine, but a bounty hunter, and that is just not it. This might be the most, if not the second most controversial thing I say in this video, but Wonder Woman's battle skirt and armor, it's actually not a bad design, but I'm putting it in this category because it is doing my soul dirty, but it does make sense, mind you. I'm not saying that it doesn't. She is an Amazonian warrior raised in a culture of like combat. Like it literally fits that image clearly and it communicates that warrior aspect in a very immediately readable way. The battle skirt is a solid choice, but in comics, that original look, the spandex, the leotard, the no pants, I know that's crazy, but like the swimsuit style, it's inseparable from who she is and when she was at her best, right? That costume is tied to her strongest era in comics, the post-crisis Wonder Woman era, when there was a slew of legendary writers who understood Diana is more than just a female Superman. That's the Wonder Woman that a lot of us grew up with if you were raised on the DCAU, which I don't exactly think is a good portrayal of the character, but the design is peak. Justice League Unlimited, and especially the animated films Crisis on Two Earths and Superman Batman Apocalypse, even the Wonder Woman animated movie, those, if you're a Diana fan and you skipped out on those, you need to fix that immediately. These movies don't exactly understand her character perfectly, but it's the movie that improved her rep. It was the one where like she fought like a demon, and normies now see her as Superman, but with hands. That's enough for a lot of people to get on the Wonder Woman train. It felt final, right? That version of Wonder Woman wears the classic costume. That's the image burned into my mind and a lot of other people, not just for nostalgic purposes, but it's associated with competence and presence, which is why it feels so strange that Batman and Superman are allowed to have their classic looks, while she is just standing next to them, constantly being interpreted with that design. And the weird part to all of this is when you see Dan Mora draw Wonder Woman with the battle skirt, because then I'm like reminded that he could draw the iconic look better than a lot of people in the modern era. That design just looks so good. It's a reminder that the problem was never the costume. Actually, Dan Mora isn't the only one. Basically anybody who draws that costume, it will look good if you draw it within that house art style. And when it comes to the baggage of the battle skirt and armor, it became mainstream through Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. This version popularized the look so hard that I think it basically locked Diana into this modern warrior aesthetic across all media. If you're somebody who doesn't like Wonder Woman with a sword all the time, this is the reason why. This entire fit makes her look like somebody who would carry a sword and shield. If you're against that, you should not like this costume that much. On top of that, there is no justified reason for the comics to stick with it. Outside of like the Greg Rucka run in the early days of Rebirth, there really aren't any great Wonder Woman runs tied to this design. It hasn't ushered a golden age of the character, it hasn't clarified her mythos, it hasn't even established her direction. If anything, I believe it's been attached to some of the most divisive, horrible storytelling decisions surrounding her character, including Tom King's run. That alone should be enough to burn the outfit with fire and start fresh, right? She isn't somebody who needs to prove herself to be a warrior. She has a clear identity, but this suit, in my opinion, is muddling that up. The skirt isn't terrible, but it represents a period where Diana has just been stuck creatively, visually, and narratively, right? If DC is serious about moving Wonder Woman into a new era, and honestly, DC Next Level, you better come in with a new writer, please. Maybe the first step is letting her stand alongside Batman and Superman, not as a character who always needs fixing, but as one who already got it right all along. A long time ago, she had all the pieces in place. Al Ewing, the time is ticking, get on the book now, please. Now on to my favorite Flash, Wally West. Who doesn't like talking about some Wally West? And this is another controversial opinion, ooh. And here we have the Rebirth Wally West suit. Now, I believe, just like the Wonder Woman one, this is one of those other great designs that I think tells the wrong story. It's really good, but that distinction right there matters, because visually, I get why people like it. The suit is clean, it's very sharp, the blue lightning mixed in with those like white accents of light, it makes Wally pop in motion, especially on those splash pages. And culturally, we know those TikTok edits, know we're going to see those poses on our feed, we're going to see our favorite characters go 0 and 11, but getting back on topic, as a reintroduction suit, it works perfectly in my opinion. It felt very celebratory, right? Like DC saying, hey, Wally's back, Barry's here, that is all that matters. But as his default identity, it's like a regression, because for somebody who's been in the Flash for over 20 years, the suit quietly puts Wally back into that shadow of Barry Allen, and you feel it immediately if you've been a longtime Wally fan. The exposed hair, the overall vibe, he doesn't look like a Flash, does he? Like, look at him, he looks like Kid Flash 2.0. And that's the problem. As an alt suit, it is totally fine. As a temporary look that works as a transitional era piece, yeah, that makes sense to me. But as Wally West, he isn't a sidekick anymore trying to rediscover himself. He already did that arc decades ago. He's more than earned the Flash mantle. He lived it, and he redefined it, and that classic post-crisis suit reflects that. And when you put two of these characters side by side in the Rebirth era, it's not even close. One looks like a legacy hero still finding his footing, and the other looks like the man who owns the damn title. And comics have already told this story perfectly. If you look back in the 90s, in the very iconic all-time Hall of Fame Mark Waid Flash run, arguably the best Flash run of all time, this understood Wally better than this misrepresentation. When Barry Allen returns and fights Wally, the conflict isn't really about speed, it's about confidence, and during the fight, Barry tears out Wally's cowl, revealing his hair. And that visual choice isn't random, it is perfect and purposeful storytelling. That exposed hair symbolizes Wally slipping back into his old securities, feeling incompetent, feeling like maybe he was never truly ready to be the Flash. And for that moment, he believes it, but once Wally locks in, once he gets a pep talk from the former Flashes, and once he fixes his cowl and centers himself, he runs back the fade. And he doesn't just win, he runs Barry down in record time, bro. Walk him down, Wally West. Like, he did that, bro. That was the moment where he became the Flash, right? That's why the full cowl, in my opinion, matters. It's not just about hiding his hair, it's about his identity. He's the standard, he's not just borrowing the mantle. And thankfully, in the Jeremy Adams run, we had a very cool version of that suit with the nose cowl piece, looks kind of Batman-y. In Cy Spurrier's run, we had that for the first half. For the second half, we had a black and red suit, which honestly I think is overhated. And now, because Wally fans eat so good, we have a new run by Ryan North, the guy who's doing crazy on Fantastic Four for the past like 4 years, and Gavin Goudry, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name, and they brought back the Wally suit with the nose hanging out, and yes, this is my Flash. I love this, and he's taken over the book for the past, I don't know how long, like 4 or 5 years? Wally is here to stay, Barry is retired. I know I'm sounding crazy, I love Barry too, when he's written properly, but yes, Wally is that guy, he's been through it. He unlocked the Speed Force, and everybody around him was able to tap into that energy. The legacy, he pushed it further than Barry did. That's what Barry wanted him to do, and he passed the test with flying colors. And the history, all of that's within his heart still. It just doesn't sit right to have that Rebirth suit with him. Wally doesn't need a reminder of where he came from, he needs a suit that reflects where he already went. In the Rebirth era, even now, he's not training to be the Flash. He already was, and he always will be. And you know what they say, two minds are better than one, and when it comes to Wally West and Kyle Rayner, when you put them together, they share the same brain cells, so you know both of them were going to get some horrible suits at pretty much the very same time. I'm kind of being a little bit hyperbolic when I say horrible, because I did like the red and black Wally suit. It's just that on covers, especially when he had that gold plating that went from his nose to his earpieces, it looked fugly to say the least. But Kyle Rayner, all I do is win, by the way, in this new era coming in March. Not only is there a new Flash team, not only is Nightwing getting a crazy new book, not only is Batman thriving, not only is Superboy Prime going to be Superman, not only is all my favorite books doing well, and by extension characters are thriving, and with Green Lantern, a book that I wasn't all too, fond of, I think it's Jeremy Adams' weakest work. I really liked Volume 1, and as a whole, these upcoming issues do look very promising. It looks like Hal and Carol are going to get married, and they're going to take a bit of a back seat, and Kyle Rayner, the 90s GOAT himself, and I saw a post recently that said DC feels like it's transitioning into that early 2000s DC era, and I can see it. The post had Wally West Flash, Kyle Rayner as Green Lantern, Cassandra Cain as Batgirl, and a Teen Titans team with previous and new generation members, and yeah, as I said, I'm all in, pun intended. And when it comes to Jeremy Adams, I feel like this is more of his wheelhouse. He is a 90s fiend, and in general, we saw from Wally West, he is better at writing characters on an Earth-based level. Even Jay Garrick Flash, this seems to be more of his cup of tea. Anyways, that is not what I'm here to talk about. I am very excited. I've been scrolling through the Reddits of all these characters and just seeing all of the updates and how everybody's been responding. And the one thing that everyone's a bit confused about and they don't know how to feel about is Kyle's new suit. And this right here looks as if Ben 10 was given the option to have a Green Lantern suit. The color scheme here is very interesting. Even the logo looks kind of like the Ben 10 logo. And even the actual name here, it says DNA. Why does it say that? I don't know. Maybe that's the artist and their way of tagging their art. This suit, it could be fixed really quickly by the mask. I should not be seeing his eyes, and every single mock-up of this suit, I've been seeing it, and it's driving me crazy. And I think, hopefully, I might be completely copiumed out of my mind, it has the white eyes, because in the main cover, we see him with white eyes, and we even see Wally West in the back. We're finally going to get two of my golden children back together, bro. All I need is Nightwing, Roy Harper, and maybe even Connor Hawke, and put them in a room together, all of them. It will be cinema. But this is one of those cases where the first version of this suit was the best version. I don't know if it was just Darryl Banks' art, but in general, everyone who's drawn it, even in the modern era, it seems like a lot of artists just click with it. But here is how you fix it. DC, listen to me. All you need is the crab mask. That is the most iconic part of his suit. It's the part of his suit that stayed with him the longest, and that is all you really need. Even when his suit changes to be more generic, he always keeps the mask. That is how you identify him, and that is where his artistry took him in the first place. And DC, if you're listening to suggestions, how about you make it like this? Every single year or arc or whatever you want to do, or a new writer shift, you change up the costume. He is an artist after all, and that would be something really cool for fans to look out for. And if you don't like one suit, maybe a new one will change up and you'll like it more. Maybe they do something so crazy and different, you never even think of them doing that in the first place, and then it just sticks with you and you just love that suit. I know I'm kind of going on a bit of a tangent here, but this is probably the biggest new news in terms of costume design that I could talk about, and this one has a lot of people in a kerfluffle, okay? They don't know exactly how they feel. Some people like it, some people hate it. I just feel it would be really cool to implement what he did in the Sins of Youth storyline in Young Justice. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this was a storyline where a bunch of the Justice League members and the heroes and adults were turned into kids, and every single panel he had a different costume, and it was just so fun, kind of like little Easter eggs to see what Kyle's mind will come up with next. I don't hate the suit, but it could be better, and hopefully it's one of those cases where it looks better in the book than it does through these multiple artist renditions. Harley Quinzel, also known as Harley Quinn, might be the clearest example of a redesign that didn't just change the look of the character, it changed the entire soul of her character. And when you compare classic Harley to modern Harley, it feels like you're looking at two completely different characters and people, and one of them is massively more likable than the other, which is wild because you'd think the version who fully transitioned into an honorary Bat family member would be the easy winner, but somehow she's not. Classic Harley Quinn, the jester suit, the full-on domino mask, the exaggerated cartoon expressions, it was inseparable from who she was. The design was simply iconic from the beginning. All of her personality traits, her vulnerabilities, her obsession, and the tragedy within her was wrapped up in a little bow, that little bit of humor, and a huge reason why that version worked is Arlene Sorkin's voice acting. She made Harley lovable even at her most depraved. Even when Harley was doing terrible things, you felt for her. There was an underlying sadness to everything that happened, the sense that she didn't fully understand how trapped she really was. She was whipped day in and day out, you know what I mean. And watching her try to build an identity away from the Joker only to fall back into his arms over and over again was genuinely heartbreaking. Even as a kid, I was like, dang bro, does it really have to be like this? That was dramatic irony done right. And the audience knows that she deserves better, but Joker will never change, and Harley doesn't, not yet. And that tension is what made her compelling, and that version of Harley actually began transitioning into the comics under Paul Dini, their original creator, and it felt natural, right? She didn't become a hero instantly. She relapsed, she stumbled, she made mistakes over time. Even when she was trying to become a good guy, she would start thinking about the Joker, only to be talked out of it. She had earned her growth. She helped Batman, she worked alongside other heroes, she even helped found the Gotham City Sirens. That journey mattered because it was rooted in character and not branding. Now look at modern Harley. The classic suit is completely gone. It's been replaced with a lot more like Hot Topic core aesthetics, and I don't think it's really that bad to begin with. The problem is her shift in personality. Modern Harley is very obnoxious. Like, her gimmicks are based on either being as annoying as possible or as gross as possible, being loud for the sake of being loud, just for the sake of shock factor, and increasingly, she's been written more as DC's answer to Deadpool, which is very ironic because even Deadpool, after being pushed and overexposed, needed an aggressive cooldown to be brought back to where he needed to be in the fans' eyes. A lot of comic book fans hated Deadpool for the massive push and the change in his personality. He needed that pullback so that the readers themselves can recalibrate what he's supposed to be in their mind, because he was changing and he wasn't exactly more than anything other than one note. And Harley, she did not get this really. She was pushed everywhere, movies, comics, shows, games. And the more they leaned into this humor, they stripped away what made her human. This level of overexposure and the fan backlash was just insane. It makes you really wonder why DC hasn't done anything to course correct. She feels like a brand mascot, not a person who survived abuse and rebuilt herself piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, right? She did that, bro. Post-Crisis Harley, in my opinion, maybe even I guess early New 52, is where you should stop reading the character. That's where I did, and it's probably for the best, because classic Harley did not need this constant reinvention. She was already funny, tragic, and sympathetic, and at that moment, I believe, DC forgot that they didn't just redesign her outfit, they redesigned her into somebody else entirely. But what do you guys think? Let me know your most hated redesigns down below. Let me just throw you another one too. Let me lob in Arsenal. Now, as Speedy, he looked very innocent, and as we know now, he is not that. He is a man, you know what I mean, bro. Why do all the redheads have to be such ladies' men? But yeah, as a character, as Arsenal, when he leveled up, he had a pretty good suit. As Red Arrow, when he leveled up again, another pretty good suit. But in the New 52, when he was Arsenal, I just hate these suits, bro. The first one, why do you have a hat? You have a trucker hat on and tattoos, and you just look so over-designed. And then what came right after that in the DCU initiative was armor bikini. Like, literally, look at this. You cannot tell me this is not armor bikini. And then in DC Rebirth, to make me more mad, they just flipped around the trucker's hat. Like, hello? Get out of here, bro. Why are you doing this to my soul? Thankfully, in recent years, in Joshua Williamson's run, he got a better design. And in Chris Condon's run, the last run that I'm just very sad about, that's ending this month, I believe, he had a really great new arc. So all of my favorite characters are not washed anymore. Thank you, DC. But yeah, guys, as I said before, leave your most hated down below. Remember to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when a new video goes live. And yeah, see you all later. Take care. Deuces. Peace.